you have to be young to fall in love the way he falls in love with Anne Boleyn. You really have to be young, and you have to be kind of, you know, inexperienced or you know, uncontrolled in that area in your life, you know what I mean? There's just something about Anne Boleyn that captures his spirit, captures his loins. He sees a healthy girl. She'll give me a son, which is a great advantage. She's young. She's got a lot of life. And Anne seems to enjoy life. She's intelligent. She can carry a conversation. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, especially if you're a king and most of your marriages are arranged, you want to know that they don't look like horse meat and they can carry a conversation, because you're going to be with them for a while, or they're going to be around. He was married to Catherine of Aragon for a very, very long time. His relationship with Catherine was wonderful. You know, he loved her deeply and they had a deep respect, but she got old and she didn't give him a son. And things had to change, and he's a young man. And so it kind of played out its natural course. It would have been even more extraordinary if Henry had remained faithful to Catherine of Aragon. That probably would have made him even sort of more famous. Because the nature of relationships for people of this stature, who you fall in love with is a matter of state. It's politics, and who you marry is a matter of state. And it's very, very hard to be a human in that context. And what we're looking at, I hope, because I haven't seen anything of the production so far, and I won't see anything before anybody sees this, is that I hope people will get what I hope we're getting is somebody who's not allowed to have emotions having emotions, and how they upset the world around him, which he wields so much power in. You know, he did some great things, but he did them subconsciously and unbeknownst to himself, and they wouldn't actually appear as great as they were till later on in history. But you know, he took the control. He became the spiritual leader for his country. So he took his kingdom away from Rome, which probably was no harm at the time. You know, Rome was not a very loving, giving, religious, spiritual place to do business, even spiritual business. It was very, very corrupt. And the reason he did it, of course, are for essentially selfish reasons, carnal reasons, that he really wanted Anne Boleyn and he wanted a son. But in fact, he probably saved England a lot of grief later on. I don't think the mentality of the English people, the aesthetic that was growing at that time, would have suited Rome anyway. And I think Henry just pulled it away quicker than anybody thought it would have. But even in that's another thing that he did, and was very, very important for him, was creating an aesthetic for his country. He you know, England was always at war, and you know, so you had the Saxons and you had the Normans, and then you had kings dying and kings living and crusades, and in all that sort of, you know, social, political, military unrest, it hadn't really gained an aesthetic. Henry gave it an aesthetic. He sort of, you know, he gave England an identification that, you know, that it had been lacking up until then. And then, of course, there's the subject of the son. And, you know, Henry desperately wanted to continue his line, as all great men do, especially great royal men. He had to continue his house. And he felt, and he was dead right, he felt that a daughter would not be able to hold it. And they tried to take it away from Elizabeth so many times. But in having Elizabeth, he had the greatest son a man could want. It was just a woman. So his wish was granted. it was granted to Anne Boleyn's child, not to Catherine of Aragon's.